Yes, viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Wizards of Sports TV. I'm your host, Sports is Greg, and I'm here to give a quick roundup of the first round of group stage games in this year's African Cup of Nations tournament. Now, before I go any further, please continue to like, subscribe, and share the videos. If you even share it just once or just with one person, I greatly appreciate it. One person will share it to another, and who knows? Before you know it, I'll be up to 10,000 subscriptions, 100,000 likes, 200,000 views. Keep it going. All right. Anyways, back to business at hand, and like I had said in the previous video, the preview to the tournament. This year's tournament is one tournament that we can pinpoint a team, except for probably Morocco, which at the end of my previous video I did say, if you were to say there was a favorite based on their World Cup exploits last year or 2022, they will be the only team in the tournament that you could say is a hands-on favorite. Other than that, all the other teams are capable of giving a good account of themselves. And like we saw in the first set of group games, lots of surprises. Ghana not looking so good. They are without two of their best players in Mohamed Kudus. Well, he should be available for their next game. And Thomas Partey, who is out injured, will be missing the entire tournament. But the group game so far, normally we're used to seeing the African Nations Cup is normally, no offense to the Southern African teams and the East African or even the Central African teams, but most times it's a battle between the West Africans and the North Africans for this trophy, the likes of Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, those are normally the teams battling out for the African Nations Cup. But so far, teams from all over the continent have been doing their thing, and showing up. Even the so-called minnows, a team like Cape Verde, who is just islands, just a few islands off the coast of West Africa, really. They're leading their group, And talking about, the position in groups, start off with Group A, Ivory Coast being the host, and kudos to them for a good tournament so far, or an excellent tournament so far. Also, kudos to the African match officials. The VAR at AFCON so far is better than I've seen in the Premier League since the inception of VAR in the Premier League. So kudos to the officials and to Ivory Coast for hosting an exceptional tournament so far. There have been some brilliant games, some excellent goals. Lamine Camara scored a beauty yesterday for Mali. Well, not yesterday, Tuesday for Mali. And there have been some other excellent goals. But like I said, tough competition. Nobody totally dominating any team. It's been battles till a team will come out like Algeria. They came out in the first half of their game, was being pretty dominant, against Angola. And then late in the second half, Angola was able to pull off a draw, and quite a few of the games have been like that so far in this year's tournament, But to move on to the groups and the standings thus far, and it's 6 groups of 4 teams, top 2 from each group, and the 4 best third place finishers will qualify for the round of 16. So a team like Ghana, who sits in last place in Group B right now, they still have a chance of making it even as a best third place. But really and truly, does Ghana want to see, because as a third place team, you'll be seeing the likes of either Mali, Ivory Coast, or Morocco, a team like that. Does Ghana want to see a team like that in the round of 16? Not necessarily. So they have to get it together in their game later on today when they go up against Egypt, who drew their game after dominating most of that game. But to move on to the group standings, Ivory Coast leads Group A with 3 points, followed by Equatorial Guinea and Nigeria and 1 point each. Oh, and Ivory Coast also later today, faces off against Nigeria. And that should be a very competitive game if it lives up to expectations. They say the game is not played on paper, it's played out there on the field. So let's see if they can live up to expectations. At the last place in that group is Guinea-Bissau. Moving on to Group B, like I said before, Cape Verde Islands. Surprisingly, they're leading that group, a group that consists of Egypt and Ghana. Egypt sits in second place, followed by Mozambique, who are making a good account of themselves. Enough props to Mozambique team. And Ghana sits in last place in that group. Their game against Egypt later today should be a real test for both teams, but for Ghana especially. And supposedly fans of the Ghana national team are very upset right now. Coach Chris Hughton was attacked and had to be rescued by team officials. That's always something, that's always a sad case, something that we don't like to see happening to anyone, especially involved with the team, any officials involved with the team. But yeah, they are in a really bad state right now, the Ghana team, and they need to turn up against Egypt, who also needs to turn up if they still hold any hopes of topping that group. Moving on to Group B, Burkina Faso. The Burkina Bees, they look really good. Traore, I was trying to remember last video, which teams he played for other than Chelsea. But yes, he's currently at Aston Villa, but has been out injured for a while. He came on and changed the game for them, and he has been their talisman for quite a few tournaments now, and they had a pretty good performance. They came out victorious against Mauritania, so they lead that group, followed by Algeria and Angola. Mauritania sits in last place. Moving on to Group E, Mali. No surprises there. I did say that they have a very solid team. Stacked midfield, with the likes of Haidara and Bissouma. I was surprised to see Bissouma not only wearing the number 10, but playing in the number 10 role, because he plays as a defensive midfielder for his team, Tottenham Hotspurs currently, and prior to that at Brighton. But it's also not a surprise, or it's not something new to see a player who plays as a defensive midfielder or a centre back occasionally for their club team in Europe. When they go back and grace the continent, they end up playing as a number 10. We saw John Obi Mikel do it whenever he played for Nigeria, or Alex Sang do it whenever he played for Cameroon, or Yaya Toure whenever he played for Ivory Coast. So not too surprising, but at the same time wasn't expecting it. And he had a pretty decent game, made a few driving runs forward. But the standout players for Mali in that game was Lamine Camara and Haidara. They had excellent games. Camara topped off his game with his 2 goals. So yeah, they lead that group, followed by Namibia and Tunisia, who surprisingly, Tunisia have a very solid team, but they weren't able to come away with more than a draw against Namibia. And South Africa finished. South Africa is currently 4th in that group. Moving on to Group F, Morocco, the team of the tournament so far. They look excellent, from defense all the way to attack. Like I said in my video, my preview, they have the likes of Hakimi, Ziyech, Unai, who Manu should have bought instead of buying starter midfielder. Can't remember his name right now. They got En-Nesyri. They got a very decent team. a stacked team when it comes to this tournament. So they didn't disappoint. They showed up. They do like favorites are supposed to do. Our top teams are supposed to go out there and play the game to their full potential, and they came away with the 3 points and 3 goals. So Morocco sits atop that group, followed by a very spirited and vibrant DR Congo team. That DR Congo team played exceptional, but unfortunately we were unable to come away with more than a point against Zambia, who gave a good account of themselves also. That Zambian team, they look pretty decent. The likes of Patson Daka and Mosanda, they played a pretty good game, and came away with a deserving draw, if you may say so. And rounding off that group is Tanzania. So they so far don't look that good. They probably, out of all the minnows, they're probably the only ones who haven't given such a great account of themselves so far. But yeah, so far in the group stages, like I said, Ivory Coast give a pretty good account of themselves. The teams that really stood out thus far, though, for me, is Mali and Morocco. They're the teams. They look like the teams to beat so far. The smaller nations, the Equatorial Guinea, Cape Verde, even Zambia, they look pretty decent so far. They are playing some really good football. But so lots to look forward to in the second round of group games. This is when most of the big names will face up against each other. The teams that were expected to progress from the group, at least, this is when they face off against each other. So should be some more exciting games. Lots to look forward to. So continue to stay tuned to the tournament. For those of you who don't know which channels it's on, if you're in the US, it's on Bean Sport. In the UK, Sky Sports Football. So tune in, catch as much as the games as you can, and leave your comments in the comment section. Tell me which teams or which players have impressed you so far in this tournament. Until next time, continue to stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.